You know what was dope? It wasn't a slave film, and it was a time when black people were elevated.
Hi everyone, I'm Makkedah Ramsey and I'm with Pop Culture Planet. I'm so excited to speak with you all today. How's it going?
How you doing?
What was it like working on a period piece as a person of color, and how does your perspective influence your portrayal of your character?
Felt like the 1960s again.
You know what was dope? It wasn't a slave film, and it was a time when black people were elevated, and you see the different hierarchy in this community, and you see, family, and you see three dudes, you see three men at different stages of their life, and how they deal with love. Because we so used to really like dealing with like anger and hate, but we all have women, so to speak, in this project, and you see how we handle that as good men. We all flaws, but we all are good men. So I think it's important for us, the younger versions of us, people, however we grew up, to see that,
I mean, I play a cop, and I've had some interesting experiences with cop in my real life. But what I like most about the character that I play is that he's a good cop, and we have great cops out here as well. But he's a good cop, so in a way, I guess symbolically or spiritually, it's kind of like be the change that you wish to see. And while playing him, I got to see being a cop through the lens and understand a little bit what they have to experience, with the added layer of it being the '60s and being a black cop and being hated on at work because I'm a black cop and also a good cop. So it's a lot to talk about there that we don't have too much time to go into, but definitely a valuable experience.
Filming a series like this, like you guys said, you're talking about love, requires a lot of emotional depth. What was the most challenging part of tapping into your characters?
For me, the most challenging part, I guess, tapping into an emotionally vulnerable place for Reggie, was so much of his exterior being hardened, and it's very performative because he's a very internal guy who has a conscience that's informing all of his decisions, that he, and sometimes those guys in that world, they don't think twice. And Reggie, he doesn't think twice in the execution, but when he goes home, it's weighing on him. So I think that was my entry point into accessing his emotional depth.
Oh, good.
I got to relive a story that my grandmother told me about my grandfather, which gave my character a very emotional like scene, and because it was the '60s and I had to walk through the tenseness of the story that she told me, which I thought was crazy, and I was like, I'm doing comedies after this, So yeah, it was interesting to be able to walk through something you heard about and feel what it felt like,
You executive produced, co-wrote, and directed the series, right? So what was it like wearing 3 hats on a project like this?
It's a juggling act, but I feel like I wanted that challenge. I was up for it. I kind of wanted to have a possibility to oversee the project. I'm very detail-oriented, which could be exhausting, but sometimes the only way to get things to really, work in a certain way is to be able to understand all levels of the process. And I had incredible partners, obviously, and Natalie and all of our EPs and writers. So I've never worked with so many people, but now looking back at it, I think that all that work has come together into something that is incredibly bigger than I could have never imagined.
As an artist who aims to challenge genre boundaries, how did you approach that in this series?
The series is very much a work that is relying on a lot of the noir genre and, the murder mystery genre, but it definitely takes a lot of turns and a lot of twists, both in the plot and in the tone. And so it was taking a lot of freedom about making it very character driven, but also not being afraid to leave, reality in the plot and bring in things that feel authentic to my own style or how I feel like I would tell a story. And I think that it just naturally kind of morphs into something that always is being labeled later on as like genre bending or fresh or a new chapter of something, but it really comes from just following my instincts on how to tell a story.
What are some challenges you faced bringing this from page to screen, and how did you overcome that?
One of our biggest challenges was really making sure that Cleo Sherwood, who's in the show called Cleo Johnson, had a much bigger point of view and a sort of led a lot more of the story. Laura Lippman's book immediately grabbed me. I kind of related to the themes. I wanted to explore it, but I was challenged by the way the focus was very much on Maddie Morgenstern, and it felt like the story of Cleo and how she died and what happened to her could really benefit from and had a lot of potential to go into a 7-hour series and have more time and more breadth. So the challenge was to work with the writers in the writers' room and our EP Boaz Yakin and Zach Shields to kind of make sure that when we do that, we're kind of incredibly sensitive both to the historical context of the real murders that inspired the book and were never solved, and also just to the story itself and how it's balanced within it.
Thank you so much. That will be it for me today. I appreciated speaking with you.
You too, love. Thank you.